Good morning and welcome to the Ridiculously Early J Morning Show, where once again we are working on JPrez, a presentation tool for making scripted presentations in the J programming language. We're now at the point where we can start typing directly into this REPL. We can press the up keys and the arrow keys to recall past entries, and we have basically a working REPL that is also being recorded down here. If we press tab now, we can go back here. We can travel back in time and undo what we've previously entered here, and we can replay these at speed. I guess that was quite a bit of speed there. Oh, that's interesting. So there's something missing here. It seems that, so yesterday we worked on making this REPL work, but we did not add anything that would allow it to use those same keys in the macro recorder. And now I need to think about how to do that. So we need to actually record the arrow keys, the history navigation. I was not expecting that, so I'm going to have to think about this. So I would say this is actually not complete because I'm adding it to the sprint because it was actually part of this that I didn't finish. So that's a trick. The problem is that the log, the macro recording aspect belongs to the editor itself, the line editor widget, and the history navigation belongs to the REPL. So do I want to change that? That's what I'm wondering now. And if so, which way do I want to change it? Do I want to move macros up higher into the application itself? Or do I want to instead push some notion of arrow key handling down to the keyboard and then push the keyboard handling for the arrow keys down into the editor and have it fire some kind of event that the REPL listens to? Because the same line editor is going to be used in both the REPL and the text editor macros, text editor widget. So a single line of the editor only controls a single line of text, and if you press up, what happens depends on which widget this little tiny thing is embedded in. If it's just like a single line field, then pressing up might not do anything. Or if it's a numeric field, we might want it to increment and decrement the number, the arrow keys. So I think what we want is a handler for that, an event handler. So have the editor key, the editor widget, accept those keys, and then fire another event that causes it to, that some observing parent control or owning control can then intercept and handle. I guess a callback, that seems reasonable to me. So the other thing what I was going to do was actually work on the command history for the standalone REPL. And the standalone REPL has a similar problem in that when you run standalone here, so if you just run REPL here, it does not have the up key and down key do nothing. And that is because the keyboard binding has to be done inside of a particular namespace. And again, I was handling those keys in the REPL object rather than the ed object. Now, overhauling the entire keyboard handling scheme is coming soon. That's on my list. I don't have a strong plan for it. I feel like I've just uncovered another constraint that this thing needs to handle. It needs to be able to handle the idea that widgets key bindings can change, and we're recording these things. So we're recording the key presses, but we're not recording every key press, because, for example, in this application, in JPrez, so MJE, which is going to be called JPrez, we have all these widgets at the bottom that are that are external to what we are trying to record. So we want to record the interactions for the REPL and get I didn't save it, but all the key bindings for that. We want to see exactly what happened there. But we don't need to record paging back and forth through the slides and all this stuff. Like, this is like the keys that I'm pressing to replay the animation as a whole, or the presentation as a whole. That would be live as I'm speaking and trying different takes of, as the presenter is speaking and trying different takes of the audio. They may need to undo something and go back and do another take or something. So we wouldn't want to record those things. And yet I have now two places. So I want definitely macros on this side for the REPL. And then once we get to the editor, we're going to have macros over here. And in both cases, they should be recording what they're doing as these long strings. And probably these strings will be cleaned up quite a bit. But I I wasn't thinking about this until I saw this bug. Basically, the macro needs to contain those up arrow keys. It needs to contain that. All right, so I have a pretty clear idea how the arrow keys work in the REPL because I implemented it yesterday. So in the REPL, you say 1, you say 2, you say, and then you can move up and down within that history. Now you type in 4, and you can go back up here. If you type 2 again, oh, that's no good. So that's a bug, and I actually have the debugger turned on, so I can say db stack and see what's going on there. So the error is something with log, and it's a length error with the log. Get times. With the log, interesting. That's in the macro recorder. That's strange. All right, here's my stack. This is the stack trace from the JDebugger. I typed db stack after having turned on debug 1 at the top of this script here. Yeah, so getting the log. So in the accept method, the get log is giving a length error. Get times. That's strange to me, because that implies that it implies that the length of the, like, it's getting an error on this, right? So this is what's giving an error. So get times is, let's see what we've got here. That's going to give me the length error. So why? Get times is the empty list. Whereas log, oh, I see. So E equals conu. If I just make a brand new conu UI editor, E equals conu UI edit widget is what it's called. And I say get log of E. Yeah, we get this when the log is blank. Okay, so that means that it is in line with the inserting an empty line causes a crash. We need to fix this bug. Like, this is not the goal for the sprint was to have a working REPL. We do not have a working REPL. So fix the bugs. We have to fix this bug now, or ASAP. So fix. All right. So to do fix bug with fix length error on length error get log E of ed when buffer is empty, or when log is empty. When the log is empty. Okay. So first, that shouldn't give us an error, and second, the accept, so KCM is somehow giving us a, why is this happening? I think it's because when we press up and down, so set val of E, since I just made something called E, how about set val UI edit widget? Yes, that is wiping out the log. So we don't actually want that, do we? The log, we put this in, I put this in here, I put this in here where it's wiping out the log every time you set the value because I want to play macros. And so, well, no, that would be that's what I do when I do get state and set state. I have this memento pattern. But basically, when you press enter and you clear the line, like, the macro is done. So you should take the macro out. You should extract the macro as it was, save it, and then record it in the presentation, and then clear it. But there's a different operation going on here, which is that it's not something. I'm trying to imagine what we want. Like, what's new is that the arrow keys need to be part of the macro. So the arrow keys are on the screen. And so let's see. I'm gonna exit this and then restart the J. And I'm just gonna walk through an example and think about what I want to be recorded. I'm in here. I'm gonna do my thing that's on the screen right now. I type I10, boom, I type up, and I want to hit home. Home doesn't work yet, but I hit Control A, and I get to the front, and I hit, I guess, P, I get the primes, and then I do it again, and I hit the sum of the primes. Okay, but, well, in this case, all I've done is I've pressed up once, but now I might want to do this, and I might want to record this, and this is not being recorded. So there's two different cases. One, if you just press up once, then it would be perfectly fine to wipe out the macro and start recording a new macro. Just having the first thing be start the macro with the text of line 52. When I see my visitor my alien space line is coming in my face again. I've got the sun here. I don't have a good curtain, so that's how it is. Should probably just ditch this whole green screen idea. Oh man. Okay, that's how it is. Get away. Okay, sorry. I'm distracted by shiny things. Hello, people on Twitch. I can't see who you are, but welcome. So anyways, we have two cases here. One is the case where you simply press up once and you're adding something to the last line. But I think that it makes sense. If we're recording the screen, we want it to look natural and be able to replay back this operation of working through the timeline, But also you might start by doing something like this and then press up to go through and then come back, which wiped it out. Okay, that wiped out the, I think that should preserve that. I think if you type this and you go up and you come back down, you should be able to see that, what you had typed previously. So I'm not sure if this is part of the current sprint or not. Is that a new feature? No, this is part of getting the REPL working. Editing, new line, pressing, and then down should restore the line. Pressing up and then down should restore the line. That's all we need. And that's in JREPL. What happened to the record the history navigation? That's in JPrez. Fix length error, get log ed when the log is empty. That is in UI edit. Finish command history for REPL data, for standalone REPL. Command history for standalone REPL. And that is also related to key binding. So JREPL. Although also kind of JKVM because it's framework related. Okay, so let's fix this length error. That should just not happen. That should be easy. So why do we get a length error? I don't know. But let's just get a fresh J session. I'd love to be able to actually use my REPL here, like actually use all these tools, but let's see. So E is, I guess we're still in the, I just broke out of MJE, so, or JPrez. So E is equal to, or we have ed still. So ed is the, or we have ed and led, right, led. And so led, and then, so get log of led gives a length error. So why? Get times of led is empty. That the debugger has left us in this namespace, in the namespace of led. So if I say coname right now, since led was namespace 6, we should see 6 here. Yeah. Okay, so get times is empty. So length of get times is 0. And log, length of log is 0. What is, all right, hang on. So we have, oh, but we're sticking a 0 in the front. Get times, so get times is timestamps. And then we have 0 timestamps. And then we say length and, all right, so spaces. We're gonna take, yeah, no, it's not length. This is dyadic, so we're gonna put something here. So some x, and this and sign is binding this symbol to this. So we're saying x take of this symbol, underscore, x take of underscore, and each gives us an empty box. All right, so the fix for this is just to put an if statement in there. So let's just break out of that, and this would be in JKVM UI edit.ijs. We're going to look for get log, and then we say if 0 equals the length of the log, do else and length error exec world. Okay, so we've got a different length error, depth world. All right, so this is in a separate repo, so it's going to be a separate bug. But so to do fix error length error in exec when input is empty, and that is in worlds. So in JPrez worlds.ijs. What is the behavior in J when if we just press an empty line, we get one empty line, so that's it. If length of y, if 0 equals length of y, do return. And I think that's it. There we go. Except we didn't get the new line. Equals ehist, comma, return, comma, empty string return, comma, boxed empty string return. Let's try that. So tab, enter, still not doing it. I10. Oh, okay, hang on. Because we still have to do all this stuff to actually set up the history and all this stuff. So it's only in, all right, so it's only here. All right. So ehist, we're taking the input. So this is going to cover that. And then now what does this actually say? For exec slot, exec tokes. Okay, so this is rewriting the tokens. And where do we get the error? We don't, because we told it to exit. So let's reload, enter, length error, exec world. That's on exec tokes. No, it's the I is doing that. So does that mean that an I dot, oh, we're still in the REPL. Okay, so the REPL has reported an error. This is good. So I dot, capital I dot of the empty string should give the length error. Is that what it's saying? No? All right, I'm a little confused about the current state of the system, because this line right here is demonstrating that we're in the debugger. But I think that's just, we're not in the debugger. We trapped the error, and the error just contains that debug message because the debugger is turned on, but we actually trapped it. And the debugger So if if the debugger is on, maybe we should do something here. But this is out of scope. This is not part of the current sprint. But in worlds, so what is this function called? Exec, right? Exec world. If debugger is on, maybe actually debug. Maybe actually debug things, or handle. Maybe don't actually trap the error. I'm not sure what to do. So decide what to do to when an error happens and the debugger is on. Okay, so I'm not sure what to do there. That's out of scope for now. But it seems like what's happening now is we're trapping the error. It just happens to contain the number here as if it were part of the debugger, as if we were being dropped into the debugger, but instead we were just printing that message and then resuming because we caught it. So where is this actually coming from? So I can't. The error came from. I had an empty line. I pressed enter, right? Yes. All right. So let's see what this says. So we're taking again. We're inserting a 0. Let's review. I need a refresher on what this thing does. So let's see. You get a range. Okay. So we will rewrite XY to do in world. So you get a domain error if you try to perform Y is set to 1 inside of a do. So do in quotes Y is globally assigned to 1 inside of a verb because it conflicts with the locally defined Y, right? In fact, this is true for any locally defined name, hence the exec prefix on all the locals here. Exec fix, right? In other words, I don't want a name in the REPL. If I use the word mute or tokes, then I don't want it to conflict with the variables here. So we will rewrite x, y, etc. to y in world, which is what we're trying to do. But we do not want to do this. Well, we do not want to do this inside of a direct definition, so we use depth as a mask, okay? Where's depth? So depth world is just a function that tells you, it takes your tokens and tells you what the depth is at any point. So basically it's looking for, if you say foo is equal to that, okay, that's an interesting syntax highlighting issue. I don't know why it would do that when I'm inside of a string, but okay. But so yeah, we have a token called foo. We have the equal sign or the assignment sign. That is this token, the double curly braces, and hello is inside of that, and then this drops us out. So it's telling us the depth of these tokens, of each token, of those tokens. So what happens when we say depth world of the empty string? That's fine. So why do we get this? So that's fine. And E. All right, so let's see what this says for the empty string, or the tokens. These are our tokens. Syntax error do world. Oh, sorry, that's not a complete thought. So this is, nope, not a complete thought. All right, so the entire verb is this E at rank 1, at rank 1 on the left argument and infinity on the right argument, spread out over the level 0 elements of these boxes in the tokens. So in other words, this is going to give us 0. Okay, so 0. So that's the root of the problem. We have just to make this clear what this is. So we have, let's just say A, X, B, Y, C, and N. Right. The X, Y, and N are special names that need to be, and so that gives us the masks that tells us which ones are those. So that's A is fine, X needs to be escaped, B is fine, Y needs to be escaped, C is fine, and N needs to be escaped. Okay, so it's taking these boxes and it's putting it on either side of this function. No, sorry. It's taking this and putting it on the left of this function. This is not a fork. This is simply a function that has its right argument baked in. So for each one of these things, it's saying for each token, it's asking whether or not that. There's a weird way to say it. It should just be like this. You should just do each. That doesn't lie. I didn't like that. Okay. Let's get out of my REPL and just, oh my goodness. All right, let's go J. See, like what I just got was some kind of weird error about the shape of the output. It didn't like that. Okay, all right, so I guess S0 is really what I want there. So S0 is another modifier like each that it's spreading it. Yeah, but that's all I needed was S0. I didn't need the rank 1 and rank infinity. That was too much. Let's fix that. And I bet you could swap the order of those two things as well to make it clear. So E, and so basically, because the element, you want to say for each box is an element of this, right? So that's not true because you're passing in a list of tokens. You're passing in this, and you want to say Oops. So S0. Spread that on level 0, and then you're good. Okay, so let's write it that way, which is here. I think that's clearer to me anyway. So this is all one verb right here, from here all the way here. That's all one verb saying, are these tokens any of those elements? And if so, what is the depth of the world? So if, and the fix here is if length of y, if 0 is length of y, no, if length of y is greater than 0, so if 0 is less than the length of y, do this. And then otherwise, we're not going to do that. And be nota bene, skip, that's how you do comments in J. Skip this if no input, if input is blank, since e.and gives a 0 here, and depth equals empty, so length error. That was the cause of that. So just to make sure I'm not being completely silly, yeah, we get a 0 there, whereas the depth of world of that gives us, I haven't loaded world, load worlds.ijs. Come on, man. A J, so if I'm looking in my home directory, so this is in jpres worlds.ijs. Come on now. Oh my gosh. cd jpres. There we go. This is not robust to changing the directory, obviously. And so now I wanted to say depth world of the empty string gives us length 0. So we can't compare that to this of the empty string. Although, hang on, this is not that. This is, so depth world of even that. Oh, I see. So the tokenization of the empty string gives us an empty list of tokens, but it's the element of, it just takes that empty list and it treats it as the thing we're looking, it's asking whether the empty list of tokens exists within this list. So it's really saying, is this an element of hello? And the answer, oh, I see. But when you have this, you have a list of lists, and so the empty list is not amongst those. Okay, so it gives a 0. Okay, so that's the explanation of why that's going wrong. So we have, this is giving a 0, this is giving an empty string, and then we're comparing them, or an empty list, and then we're comparing them. And so that gives a length error because they're not the same size. I guess technically we were anding them together, but it's the same issue. Okay? Yes. Okay, so I believe that will have fixed the problem with the blank inputs. So let's get out of here and go back here, press enter. There we go. Everything works now the way I expect it to. If length of y do, hey Martin. Yes, you're right. Yes, thank you. So if the y, yeah, I had started out with the other, you're absolutely right. I do that too. But I had started out with it equal to 0 because I was trying to do the opposite case. And what you don't want to do, what you never want to do in J, is this, is not length of that, because that's like Python and JavaScript thinking, because that is 1 minus. And so I confuse myself and do that all the time. So I always try to do this or not, and the absolute value or something like that. 1 minus the absolute value of the length of y or whatever to check for 0. All right, only, so skip if input is blank, because, yeah, thus length error. Okay, so that's my explanation of that. I think that works, and so we can ignore that for later. All right, so fix length error, get log ed when the log is empty. This is fixed. This is fixed, but we need to check that in. So 3, so we can check both of those in. GDUI edit.ijs, edit fix get log error when log is empty. And in jpres worlds, we're going to say fix length error when input is empty. Okay, so now back to the problem of history navigation. I expected this up and down thing to work, so like already. So I'm wondering if maybe 1, 2, now I type 3, but I don't press enter, I just press up and down. Nope, that is a bug, okay. So maybe let's just fix that. So that would be in repl, yes. Up, error, nope. So that would be going back in the history. This is the wrong test. It's not when we're at the end, it's if the one we're, hang on. We should all, as soon as you start a new line, you should be at the end. So I would think that should be true. I would think that at z of hist should be true. So I'm going to just like type this, I'm going to hit control space to break, and I want to test that. So that control is called red in this namespace. And so at z of hist of red, nope, at z it's on the repl is 1. So that is true. So that condition is true. And when I press up, So this should be true. Length b of ed of repl is 5. So that should be true. So what is insert hist of repl? That sets that this is the history is being maintained by one of these list widgets, and that is saying that the insert list, this is duplicating the first so we need to, let's start this over. L equals hello. All right, so add a thing to the end, assign it to a temporary variable, and take the length, which is 6. So hello is 5 letters. Now we add one more. We count to those numbers, and then say, where is the cursor? The cursor is at position 2. There we go. That marks that one. Now we're going to add 1 to that, and then we're going to so we're making 2 copies of the item where the cursor is, but otherwise we're leaving everything the same. There you go. Plus we have the thing at the end. I wrote a little too compact, probably, and uncommented. But anyway, so we've got this new string. So we've modified our hello string. We've added something to the end. We've added 1 extra character where the cursor is. And the thing at the end is just in case the cursor is at the very end. And then we're going to say now take, so this would be a box list. So we're going to add an X here where the cursor is and do that. And so there we've inserted an X, or maybe I'll put a star, where the cursor was from the original list. And then since we have that thing at the end, we're going to say, we're just going to drop the thing off the end. So if the cursor was at 5, then when we do this, we get we had some extra character that we could duplicate, and still dropping it off the end gives us that. I guess that probably isn't really necessary. Yeah, we get an index error though. Yeah, we need an extra thing just because of the index error when we do the take. So yeah, so that is necessary, and we get hello star when the cursor is at the end. Okay. Whereas if C is equal to 4. Then what you would do is you would add it right before the last character. So you have to have that extra thing at the end just to make your string a little bit longer, so you can handle that append. Okay, so this was just explaining what this insert does, and now I've lost track of why I'm doing that. Because this isn't working, that's why. I think the problem though is that we've got a list. It's a list of boxes, and we're inserting the box value, whereas here I have already told it to box it, and I think that's my bug. Let's try this. How was I demonstrating that bug? Oh, so the bug was that if I said 1, 2, and I typed 3 and I pressed up and then down again, that was not working because of that bug, because I was boxing it and it was trying to show a box here when it should have just been a string. So I had a box around the string. A box is just like, it's a boxing. It's a structure that allows you to, the closest thing I can think of is it's a variant. So in J is actually a fairly strongly typed language. You don't actually specify what the types are, like explicitly, but you can't compare like a number to a string or anything like that. And you can't even have a list that contains both strings and numbers. Every array must be of uniform. If you want to have an array that contains a number and a string, you're not out of luck. What you do is you put the string in a box and you put the number in a box. And so the box gives you the variant type. So something like Python object in Python, right? It's a container type that can contain any kind of other type. And so that's boxes. But I guess the point was that the history is maintained by one of these list controls, and they use boxes, but you don't pass it the value inside of a box. You just say insert the value, and then it puts a box in it around it for you. So that was the bug that I needed to fix there. And I think this is simple enough that even though there's no short circuiting in J yet, I think that I can just go ahead and use the and sign here. I don't care if it short circuits or not, and simplify this code a little bit. And then I'll put it all on one line. Although, maybe not. Maybe just explain why I'm doing this. This is insert work in progress line if, so arrow up, arrow down restores it. Yeah, just how about save work in progress. So arrow up, arrow down restores it. Okay, and just double check that I haven't broken anything. Oops, reload, and I say 1, 2, 3, and then, yeah, okay. Okay, so let's check that in. gd repl.ijs. How about instead of saver, I say save work in progress. All right, so repl, save work in progress line. All right, record the history navigation in JPrez. Record the history navigation in the macro. I don't have time to do that today. I'm basically out of time now, but I'm going to record my thoughts. These two really go together, right? The command history for standalone REPL, and I think what needs to happen, I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to call this add event handler let's see, I want the macro to record the fact that you pressed an up or down arrow, but I want what it does to be pluggable. So really I want like a create on, like an on handler, like on air up and on air down, right? Event handlers, create pluggable, and that would be in the UI edit controller. Actually, this is easy. I can do this right now. This is very easy now. If I do that, then all I need to do is go into REPL. And so we need to make the event handlers be, all right, so no, hang on. It's not REPL. It's in jkvm UI edit.ijs, interactive app. So we're gonna have some area called event handlers, right? So not keyboard event handlers, but they are keyboard event handlers, but they're so on, should I call them up and down, on, up and on, down, and they'll just do nothing. But we're going to record the fact that they did. So these are event handlers for up, down arrow keys. By default, they do nothing, and then I need to know in, I'm trying to remember the name of the handlers. So these are the keyboard handlers, I think it's called K up arrow, or AR up. And I can look at that in j-kvm.ijs, AR up, yeah, so K arrow up and K arrow down. And so there we want to log. All right, so now I need the key that you would use in Vim, because where the macros are reminiscent of Vim. So I need to, I don't know the key, but I think it's, so this key I'm pressing, whatever this is, so these two keys, so this is down and this is up and down, J and K. Okay, so J is down and K is up. I use a Dvorak keyboard, so I don't know what keys I'm pressing when I make these. So J and K. All right, I don't have it mapped that way in my head. So J, hang on. J is down. J. So insert J. Yeah, J is down and K is up. All right, so before I forget that, J is down, K is up, J is down, K is up, J is down, K is up. So when I press the up arrow, I want to record a K, and I'm going to call on. And when I press the down arrow, I want to record a J and call on of down. I think that works. I think that's all I need to do. And just for, I think those are overridden already in the, those are not going to be reached because those are already overridden in MJE, and I need to un-override them, or I need to set them to what these are doing. But for the time being, I'm going to, just to make sure this works, I'm going to say insert and insert and down. All right, so now if I go into the REPL and I run that, I'm expecting to see that. Maybe I'll see that I need to do something more, but so I press up, down, yeah, that's perfect. All right, so that works. So now we're just going to set those to empty handlers. So by default, they do nothing, right? In just the widget, they'll do nothing. Yes, okay, so they do nothing. And now in the REPL, when we create, yes, we have this kind of exact same thing where we're gonna assign a keyboard handler. Yeah, so on up of ed and on down of ed. We're gonna assign a keyboard handler by doing this nasty thing. This is building a string, so using the coname is self. So coname is going to be the number of the object. So if you create a new REPL, you're going to get like object number 7, and so that's going to be the number 7, the namespace number 7, with an underscore before and after, and then the word, I guess, back, and this is forward, because these are methods on this object. Back and forward. We have fixed this ugly mess, so let's talk about inbox. So let's like better idiom for expressing self, like method of self. C REPL create. So C create in repl.ijs. So yeah, so basically this is an ugly way of sending. These are ugly way to send, to create reference to a method on this object. So on this object. So yeah, so that's going to work. So now I would expect that when I go into the REPL, now this should do nothing because I have no history yet, but if I type 1, 2, yeah, now we have the history. That's perfect. And so now I want to inherit that in MJE. So when we say AR up is not back of REPL and forward of REPL, but rather K AR up of red. So we're actually triggering the keyboard handler in the edit control, just like we're doing for all the other ones. So that's a little more consistent, or almost all the other ones. Actually, this one is following that same line too, because I'm doing KC, so that's control M of ed, it calls accept, and so that's calling accept here. So we can say KC M of red. So all of these are going to work, and so the only one that is different is tab, right? And tab to unfocus. And probably we should probably do like tab handler this way as well. Maybe tab handler. So default tab key handler KCI control I should be to call next widget on main app, which would require having a somehow have reference to the app in which we live, in which we are running. Requires somehow having a reference to the app in which we are running. Okay. So the point of this fix though was so that now we just made the REPL do the same thing that this was doing before, except now we're calling the actual keyboard handler, which is logging the up and down arrow keys, but actually logging them as J and K, the Vim equivalents. Okay, so so let's run it just to make sure. And so now if I do my little spiel, I'm gonna retype all this. First, I'm gonna make sure it works. I10, and then up, and then just do sum of I10. Okay, yeah, look at that. So it recorded the K there. And now the question is, does that actually do what I want it to do? I think it does, but it might not. I think there's one more thing I need to do, which is to record the history. But let's see. So I hit Shift N, it types it. Okay, great. There we go. Shift N. Yes, it doesn't. Two things I need to do. One, I need to 14. Okay, I'm going way over. I'm on a roll here. I'm going to do 15 more minutes. Or I'm just going to get this done. So let's see. We need two things to do. So this is done. This is done. And now we need playback of J and K keys in macro player, up and down arrows. And then we need the memento needs to record and restore the history in the time traveling system. So that needs to be, that's in JPrez, and the playback is in edit, UI edit. This is not going to take 15 minutes. This is almost, let me check in what I've done so far. Okay, so GD of REPL, GD of MJE, yeah, and MJE. I'll do all these together. REPL is use hand process arrow keys in record arrow keys, or use new up on down events, on up on down events from edit widget. There we go. And then let's actually go here, and then UI edit is going to actually get those things. So git commit. So allow, so edit would be and record up, down arrow keys, arrows, and delegate to handler, delegate to external handlers. Okay. All right. So there we go. We solved a little problem with event dispatch. I think we're good now, except the backlog. Yeah, the backlog is still in progress. I always check that in at the end of the episode. Playback of J and K keys in macro player, up and down arrows, UI edit. So so now the next step in that is edit.ijs needs to have a playback. So in what's it called? Play in the update command. So this is the macro player, and we said J was up, right? K pair up is K, down is J. Up is K, down is J. I just copy this, and then update to on up, and nope, that's wrong. That's K, and then J is on down. This is getting ugly. That's ugly. We should change this. So in edit we should refactor so that update, so that macro, that the keys, the macro recording and macro playback are all defined in one table. Right now, we define a key in one area, a key and its macro recording logging part, logging character, the one area far away from the edit from the update method. Down, what is down? Don't know. I'm guessing my stream went down. Oh, J. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I'm not good at keeping stuff in my head, so thank you. Yeah, J is down. Yeah. I thought you were saying my stream was down. But yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, so did I leave any stray characters lying around there. JS, GD, UI, edit.ijs. I think that should work. So that was, I think I said I had two things I needed to fix. One of them was playback and then the memento, yeah. So that should play it back, and then I'm afraid that the history at any, let's just do it. I think we're going to get a bug here. I'm almost positive we're going to get a bug in playback now. I can save this. I can go ahead and save this file. I think it's saved. Probably should have a visual indication that the file actually saved when you press Control S. But in the meantime, we can look at Git and say, did anything change? Yeah, the screenplay changed. So whoops, Git diff of the screenplay should have added those lines. It did. Okay, so now I can safely exit and run it again. And now I expect it to play that macro, and it might work just magically. That works fine. But I expect this to, yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, no. So when you go to the next line, it actually does set it. So just for this reason, just in case your macro does not do what you expect it to do. The intent is that when you load this file, it's going to complain if your macro does not do what you think it does. But the problem is that the K is not being triggered, and that is because the history is not being populated correctly. In the edit, the REPL has a command history, which is one of these list widgets, and its state is not being preserved as you navigate through the timeline. So that is easy to fix as well. So let's go ahead and yeah, I'll check this in. This is going to be a separate commit also in that file though. So edit is going to be, we'll call this playback of up down keys, UI edit.ijs. And then now in that file, we also need to say there's two functions, get state and set state. And we need to record the history of, no, the list variable from the history. So L of hist, and then we'll call it hist. L is Y, set value B, and then we'll say L. We almost need a set state and get state for the. We almost need to do this memento pattern for the list object as well, because we want the cursor and the list. I think we're safe without the cursor. We don't need the cursor because we're only doing this when we on a new line, and the idea is that the line always sends the cursor all the way down to the last item in the list. So that's fine. L of hist is going to be equal to L. So we preserve it in the memento in get state, and then we restore it in set state. And I believe that is going to solve our hist. Okay, what we need is a extra state. So the history is not part of the edit widget. It is part of the REPL itself. And so we need, I know what we need to do. We need to make a copy of get state and set state. We need to have a get state and set state on the REPL object, and the REPL should be calling this for red. All right, so the REPL state will include the state for the edit widget. So in that case, this is left alone. This file will be, yeah, so gh get checkout to undo that. And instead, we will do that in the repl.ijs. So we need memento pattern, NB, memento pattern, memento. And we say get state is equal to this. So we're going to say L of hist, and that's going to be a big complicated thing. So let's put that in a box, and we'll put the get state of ed in a box. So we get two boxes there, and then now we say set state, and we'll say that L hist and ed state is equal to y. So we'll take those. We now have two boxed items. So we unbox those items individually. So then we can say L hist is equal to L hist. L underscore hist, the L on the hist object is equal to this L hist variable, and then we say set state of ed to ed state. That should work. And then we need to call that inside of JPrez, so where we say get state temp. It's doing more than getting and setting the state though. All right, we're going to say, this is going to need some refactoring, I think, but we're going to say connew of just REPL, right? It's called a REPL, UI REPL, and then it will already have its own edit widget. So KPS of ed of temp equals TSV of ed of temp. This is too much work. This is too complicated. I don't need this. This is too complicated. Let's put it back where it was. Okay, I have to look. Okay, so that I'm just restoring that. I undid one too many things. Look, this is too complicated. So get state. All we need to do is also record not the repl state, but the OLI, the input history state. And we're going to start with an empty history. OI was empty history. IHIST world. Yes. Okay. So IHIST is IHIST world when we start. It's the box of world, and then at every step we're going to record OL IHIST world and store input history, and then so wherever we use OLR again, OLR, whenever we use OLW, get world. Right, where are the out keys? Back command, forward command. Okay. Yeah. So when we change the command, back commands, forward commands. Basically, after we do this, I'm trying to think. At some point, we need to tell it the. Hang on, one second. So my first question is, in the history, when I just stepped through this. Oh, I see. I was going to say, like, does this recognize the history? But it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to recognize. It doesn't need to know anything about the history as it's playing back. We need to. I'm floundering here, aren't I? I think maybe I should wrap this up, even if I don't have an answer here. But at some point, we need to find. We need to decide. At this point, wait, at what point? Basically, whenever I go back here, if I press tab here, then when I press up, I should see those two lines. And right now, my history only goes back there. So I'm clearing the history out. And I think that when I change commands, when I change to different commands, that's when I should be calling this get world. Right now, when I render the repl, it just knows to passively do that. So how can I make this restore the history as it was at that point in time? Like IHIST of world should contain what? Contains everything. But that means that even if I go like back in time and I type IHIST of world, I would expect to see IHIST of world twice at the end there. Oh, if that's the case, then all I have to do, that makes it very easy. All I have to do is in the focus method, in the key mode method, yeah, it really should only be when I set focus to the repl, but it doesn't matter. This probably needs to be moved elsewhere. So this should probably be in an on focus event. But L of, can I refer to repl? Does it know repl? No, so repl of base. Repl is equal to repl of base, because I'm not in the base namespace here. And so now if I say L of ed of repl is empty, not of ed, I don't want ed, I want the L of, it's called hist, right? L of hist of repl. Yeah, there we go. And it goes all the way back to the word one. But what it should do, so when I hit tab and come back, oh, that's still there, okay. When I press enter, it's gone. Or no. But it's not pulling stuff out of this history is what I'm getting at. So if I go back up here, IHIST world, I think L of hist of repl doesn't exist yet because repl equals repl of base. Yeah, so that as soon as I tab in there on focus, I need to set L of hist of repl to L of hist of repl is equal to IHIST underscore world underscore. This should probably be in an on focus event, yes. All right, so now one more time, reload this. Shift N plays that. Next, Shift N did that. Why did that do that? I'm confused why I did that because it didn't set. Wait, does it set the focus up here? No. You have a gray cursor there. See, I'm playing with a gray cursor, so that means that does not have the focus right now. So if that means that, what's it called? L of hist of repl, I'm going to see the entire history, including things in the future, where repl is equal to repl of base. Yes, I see everything in the history in the future. Probably not great, but it's good enough. I should have this camera track me somehow so I don't go off to the side. Okay, this is good enough. I'm way over time. Okay, so let's check in our code. So did we accomplish this? It needs to record and restore the history. Not exactly, but I'm going to put this in the backlog. So this way we get the exact history at that point in time. And I think that's important because we're going to get wrong values, but I think this is good enough for now. And so I'm going to make just a new ticket for what did I actually do, which was stopgap method to show to get input history into repl widget. And what did I actually do? Not here, over here. Get diff of repl. I didn't use this, so this is not being used. I just revert that and get state of mje or get diff of mje. I didn't even use that. I didn't even use this OLI thing. That's outline input history or something like that. So all I did was this one little line of setting the on focus, setting the history on focus. Right now it just sets the history every time the focus changes. Right now it just sets the history when the focus changes. And it includes the entire history, the entire input history. Not good, but whatever. Okay, so git commit of mje is stopgap method. Stopgap, really a kludge. Stopgap kludge for input history in timeline, like time traveling history. History, yeah, whatever. It puts the entire history at any point in the timeline, so that's not good. But whatever. And then it's good enough for recording a thing, and because it's good enough for just going into the repl and recording a session, so that's fine. And then get diff of screenplay. I'm gonna actually just record this. I wanted to re-record my input, which is the first 10 natural numbers, first 10. I want to put these comments on it. So this is my fake demo at the start of the screenplay. So let's just delete all this stuff and re-record it with history. But first we're going to save it. We're going to exit, reload, just to make sure we got a clean state. All right, so insert its tab. We're going to say I10 and B, the first 10 natural numbers, up, A, P, colon, 10 primes, and then NB their sum, and we'll do it like that. All right, so now I save this, and oops, don't want that. And so now my demo looks like this. My hands are off the keyboard. The first 10, yeah, it even has the natural numbers. To go a little faster, I press N to actually execute it, N twice to actually execute it. Wait, Shift N up here too. Ooh, what was that? This is not good. This didn't work. I know what to do though. And that is, all right, that's not gonna work. Command IX base is 2. So if I wanna say drop of input ihist, I wanna use that index. No, I don't want that. I want to take that many items from the input history. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. So when I set the focus, I'm gonna set this. That way, so on focus, I didn't call it that, but I put a comment that it should be called that. So this is gonna, there we go. And this is actually in that namespace, so command IX, find the command index and take it from the history. So I think that works now. So let's run it. Oh, I didn't save. That was dumb. Okay, let's record it one more time. I10 and B first 10 natural numbers. First 10 natural numbers. Okay, so yeah, I've been fighting a bug, or fighting various bugs here. I think I'm close to having this work. So I should be able to press up now. Oh no. Oh, wait, what happened? Ah, so close. Reload, okay. Not even reload works, exit. All right, so 1, 2, 1. Try this. I think I took one too many things off of there. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm typing. All right, so we have that. Come on, one more time. I10 up, P, I10 up, sum, I10. Okay, and then to play that back, Shift N, I10, next, next. Shift N to play, that worked, next, next. Shift N to play, that worked. Okay, so you can go one item into the future though, right? I10, you can go all the way into the future. Why can you go all the way into the future? Because you can go all the way into the future because there's twice as many indices as there are, because it's counting the number of lines that have colons in it, but we only want the number of lines that have a colon and not a dot at the start, because those are the macros. So we want not command IX, but we want command IX is always going to be an even number because of this. This is kludgy, no, that's not right, but this is very brittle, but it should work. It's going to be brittle if I should have saved it again. Okay, so I10 up, didn't work. 1 plus this. So we do need the 1 plus, but okay. This is crappy. I10. sum p primes, and then up, and then sum, right? Okay, fine. And now we go back up, shift n plays back, next, shift n plays back. That's not working, is it? No, it's not. Like, it's not working. All right, so I don't need a command I. So this is, I didn't save it again, but okay. So one more time, I10, up doesn't work. Arrow keys are not doing anything. Main error, insert position of temp, v stack, insert of, trying to insert the letter I into insert position, insert y, insert position into temp. Yeah, so something is screwing up the state here, but it's caused by, oh, actually that's interesting. I was just pressing control space and it showed the control @ sign, so that does seem to be a function of the terminal, which is a question I had a couple days ago. Oh my gosh, everyone's showing up. I should do my recording at this time, but I got work in a few minutes. All right, I need to stop and get ready for work in a few minutes. This should probably be in an on focus event. Yes, it should be. All right. So I really need, I'm not going to be able to fix this today. I think this hack of just including the entire history of the world is, see, the problem is I don't have a way to say how long the input history was. This would fix it too as well. So in worlds.ijs, I have this idea of a hist length, right? And that's stored in the world. But it's the ehist, it's the echo history. It's the history of the entire echo output of what's on the screen. And I think we need to have ehist_l world and ehist_1 world. And we're going to call this, instead of hist_l, we're going to call it ehist. And I should have done search and replace, but I didn't. So that's every place that happens. And now in MJE, right? grep rni hist_l star. So the repl needs to handle that. And again, this is the echo history. Echo history. Okay. And we need to do the same thing for the input history. And so that's what I'm going to do now. So that it's not in here, it's only in worlds. I'm thinking that I just opened a can of worms in my head here. The world number increments every time you enter. So the world number does give you the length of the input history right now. So I could back out. Do I need to rename this to, like, does it do anything for me to rename this in other than whatever? I've changed it. It is a little more specific. So the echo history, I think maybe there should be wow, sorry. I'm just rambling right now. Okay, so we track two lengths of the history, the start and end of the history, like when that world is created and when it ends, so when you exit that. And that is so that as you are paging through the history, you can put the cursor here and you can say, okay, that line was on the screen when the world, it's not really when the world began, but I guess when you press enter, that world is created. So that world is about to be created, and then we store its length, the length of the input history. And then as that world is created, this line is executed, and we get some output, and the output now tells us that we've got one extra line, even though line feed there, but like this one is going to actually do something. So this one, we've added one line at the start of the world, but then as the world comes to an end, we have this many lines. And so that's why there are two values there. Right now, there is no concept of editing a line. So if I just, apparently there's no concept of editing at all. Wow, what's this? Exit. All right, now if I just go here and I type this, so I'm going to define a verb, I think it's this, define a verb, and I press enter, yes, it's going to try and execute that entire thing because there's no check for a multi-line input. Okay, so that's one thing I need to do, is need to check for multi-line input. This is actually easy. We already have depth world, which tells me the nesting depth, and we just need to check depth of the last of token of depth of last token. Right now, the only way you can spread a J statement across multiple lines is by using these double curly braces. So double check that parens cannot span lines inside direct definitions. I don't think that's allowed. I don't think you can ever have parentheses spanning lines. You can only have the start and end curly braces spanning a line, spanning multiple lines. Okay, so with that fixed, we haven't fixed anything yet. But given that thought, then the idea is that until we start handling multiple lines and the ability to execute multiple lines and the ability to edit multiple lines, our input is limited to one line, and therefore the world number tells us the length, it gives us exactly what we need. And so that would be this world, this underscore world. That should have given me a definition. All right, so I underscore world is 5. Okay, but it's not, that's a counter for all, that's the number of worlds total. OLW. All right, OLW it's currently storing the world as a string. I'm going to change that to store the world as a number. OLW, and then so I'm going to call II underscore world, which is just a plain old number, not a function. And I don't need to box it. I just need to append it to the list. All right, so now OLW is only used in this get world, and so that needs to be world, but a string is single quotes, comma, and format that number. I would expect this to continue to work and just behave as normal. Just double checking that I haven't broken anything. I10 plus key of, and then sum, and I'm going to actually save this time. Save, break. I guess I'm not going to save it. Saving doesn't actually work sometimes. What about multi-line input? I'm not going to support that. This is a repl, and I just wouldn't type that in a repl. When I get to this side, that'll be the editor, and then I will have the intent is that multi-line stuff will be in the editor, and we'll be able. Ooh. Yeah, at that point, you will be able to run something that's in the editor in the repl and transfer that entire line or that an entire section of line over here. And so that will start causing multi-line inputs. And that's something I'll have to think about. But right now, this is a single line input. I'm not going to worry about that at all. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. I have a hard stop at 10:45 because I have a meeting every day with somebody in Poland. In fact, I'm late for work now, but we have flex time. But so this worked. This did not break anything, and so now I think all I have to do is in this thing that is not really a focus handler, but is a fake. And did I even add that? I'm going to just add a note. Add a real focus handler. Focus on focus. So add real on focus handler whenever I do keyboard. Whenever I do real keyboard focus handling solution. I hope I remember what all these things mean when I go back and look at this list of stuff. All right, so now I believe I can say, what was it, get world repl. So I've added this as a, okay. All right, this is fine. I just want this little phrase. And I'll say get world num is equal to this. And so get world num of base. So much for terse names in J. I call it underscore num. How about world num of base? Just world num as a single name. All right, that should give us the number. That should also be a refactoring that didn't break anything. So reload. That did break something because I didn't call it. I was trying to format a function. So reload again. Didn't like that in the debugger. I know I have saving working, so I wonder why save didn't work when I really need some kind of like visual indication that's working. So here's my demo. Here's my demo. Okay. Save. GT screenplay. Save. Maybe I have to be focused. Yeah, I have to be focused on the focus has to be on these things before I can save. So that's actually another bug I need to do. Focus must be on. Control S should save anywhere. Global hotkey. Right now you have to be focused on the outline. Okay, good to know. Okay, but that does appear to be functioning. Come on, that does appear to work. Did that work? Wait, hang on. Shift N plays the first macro, yes. Shift N fails to play the second macro. I just broke something. Oh, right, because I haven't gone back and used this world num thing. So it's now in the on focus handler is not ihist world, but rather world num take of ihist world. But this is a function, so we call the function and then take that many items from the history. Reload. And then we go to this line and just shift N. No, didn't like that. Because this is reset repl history. It's going to be that expression. We need to do it not just when we set the focus. Reset repl hist, call rhist. Kind of fits with the naming conventions. That needs to also happen when we play a macro. K underscore uppercase N is play macro, which is play macro. Set state of red, pick command X base. OLR base, pick command IX base. And then, yeah, so this is reset rhist of base. where base is, it's just a reference to the base locale, lowercase base. Okay, so now try it one more time. Come on, because reset rhist does not have the, you don't call the function as you're defining it. All right, so now it's this line that I need to check, Shift N here. Ah, perfect, okay. All right, so look at that. We have macros, we have playback, we have history, we have macros that use the history. So I'm actually going to delete this and I'm going to type my demo the way I want it to be with the actual, with the actual comments that were there before. So we say I10, first 10 natural numbers. Nope, didn't work. We need to go one more than that, I believe. I didn't get the history. All right, so one more time. I10, I thought I just did this. Yeah, okay, that works. So I10 and nota bene, first 10 natural numbers, first 10 primes, and then their sum. And that is the demo I wanted to record. All right, I'd say I'm done. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.